I think I have a brilliant bond with my papa, and at that same time in life, I moved back to Kentucky for about 2 months just to see what I needed to do. And yeah, I didn't think, man, I'm going to give music up forever, but I did think like maybe I could do something else. And I was inspired by cooking. It was like something that really, I didn't know how to cook at all and learned so much. So I enrolled in, to answer your question, I enrolled in culinary school for 2 weeks, and no, sir, that was not the move. But that was the only time, and I hear people say like, you can never have a plan B. It's like, I think that's bullshit. I always have a plan B. In any moment, all day, I know my exit plan. I know how to get from, I'm always going to be okay. I'll always figure it out, and if my voice leaves me tomorrow, God forbid, I'll be okay, and I'll figure something out. But I do think this is just my calling.
There has got to be more than this.
Leah Blevins, thank you so much for making time for me.
Thank you for making time for me.
I've been looking forward to this for the better part of a month, ever since we kind of confirmed the date. And before that, too, because I've been such a fan for years, back when it was you and your sister, I was like, you guys kind of came into town like on the backs of lions, I feel like. It was just, you made so much noise when you first entered the Nashville metropolis officially. So I've known of you for a long time, and First Time Feeling I listened to a lot when it came out. I think it was in 21.
Thank you.
And yeah, you're just such a distinctive voice. And also, and this is kind of maybe an entry point into this conversation, you're kind of in a new chapter maybe too. And I want to talk about that. But first, you and my wife have something in common, which is that you're both from Eastern Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
And that's maybe an interesting way of saying or getting into what was it that happened in your earlier life that made you kind of feel like maybe there was a place for you in this musical world? Or is there a moment or just a story you could relate?
I mean, Randa can attest to this. There's not a lot going on back home, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I almost yearn for that now. It's like the simple way of living. But music was very much a part of my upbringing, and back then it was GAC, CMT. You're staring at the TV all day, inspired by all these different artists. And I mean, I just always knew I was going to play music. It never dawned on me at any point that this wasn't going to be something that was a part of my life. I don't think that I knew at that time that I could pursue something of that nature, but just on both sides, my mom's side and dad's side of the family, music was just a part of our world, and I'm grateful that it led me here.
Your dad played, your granddad played on both sides, or?
I mean, my mom's side of the family, they all played an instrument. Okay. They had a gospel group called the Harbor Masters all throughout the 70s. And my dad was a state senator, worked for the government my whole life, and in turn was in his nightlife an Elvis impersonator. So just coming at you at all sides, you know. Yeah.
And did the Harbor Masters, I got the name right? Yep.
Yeah.
Did they was it kind of a regionally touring act? I'm just trying to picture this a little bit, like place it in time.
I mean, they traveled around the tri-state, playing at churches.
Yeah.
All over. And it was my mom, my papa, his brother, my cousin Brian, and then 2 other gentlemen and my auntie, Susie.
And so, you're riding in the car to the churches with the band probably at an early age. Fair to say? When
I was born, the band wasn't so much a thing, but definitely we all, every Sunday, got up and sang hymnals, and any event that was family related, we were together and somebody was starting, and from the time we were there till we left, we were singing something, you know?
So is it fair to say that you didn't encounter a lot of resistance on the part of your parents when you were kind of compelled to go this way?
No. It was much encouraged, and still is to this day. I think my mama and everybody, they want me to go a different route in terms of the style, but they're proud of me, and
well,
that's
you're
all I
young
can ask
yet.
for.
You know, there's maybe a gospel record in the future. Who knows? Let's not
hopefully
rule it
many.
out. Yeah,
Hopefully many.
Absolutely. That's a good answer from my mom. It's okay. So you came up singing in the family, and then at what point? Because you're a fine songwriter. What point did you start writing songs? Was there an early song that you remember writing, or?
I mean, I have journals from when I was, 11, 12 years old, and I've always been a very, I'd like to say, internal kind of person. The way I feel like I see the world is we're all one, and the only way I knew to kind of adhere to that was to write things down and process my emotions and feelings at that angsty age was to write it down. And I think to this day, that's a part of my regimen every day, just to release in some way. But I do think writing, for me, I never wanted it to become something that I had to force. I didn't want it to be like, sit down, do this every day. It's again, something that I think internally I'm releasing, and I want that to be an outlet for me.
So it sounds like you kind of hover like between this, what you just said to me. I'm just reflecting back to you in my my best way of doing that. Just that you do it every day. You write, but you don't do it as a discipline. And so there's some people might think that there's that's a kind of a contradiction. Does he just freely write every day then? Or maybe you can put some words to that.
I think I'm just trying to, now that you say that out loud, maybe it does sound like a contradiction, but isn't life just one big contradiction?
Sure,
So
no, absolutely.
I think for
two
me,
things can be true.
Yeah, two things can be true at the same time. I think more so this past year and a half, I've just tried to allow myself to not be so hard on myself in that regard. It's like last year I wrote well over 50 songs with the great comfort of having a publishing deal. I've been in this town now, like most, for a good amount of time, 14 years in May. So it's like finally getting to see my due diligence be rewarded in some regard. And I didn't want that to taint something that I feel is a part of me. And writing is just a thing that I treat like I drink water,
Yeah. Man, that was a great answer. It makes me want to ask another question and not go biographically linear. So let's just roll with it. But one of the things that I feel like has happened really significantly, or noticed from afar, is the signing of the publishing deal with Major Bob in was the 24. This is pretty recently.
Yeah.
And so, like you just mentioned, having written 50 songs kind of under the auspices of Music World Publisher.
Yes.
And with that, I imagine that, the co-writing, the more regularity to it, there's a little more structure there. And how has that changed your relationship to that, that spirit of sports? I'm going to call it spontaneous generation, for want of a better expression. We talked off mic that, there's like with your relationship with a fellow singer-songwriter, that you kind of you've noticed an increase in discipline lately. And I'm wondering if those things kind of coincided a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think every part of life, personally, I think it's one of those things where if you really want to see change and see things outside of being just this selfish rock star, if you will, you fantasize those, or at least I did growing up. It was like I admired all the folks who were reckless and wild and getting married and finally getting an opportunity to have a publishing deal. It's like I have to show up, not only for them, but it's finally time to show up for myself. And now I'm reaping those rewards, but I don't want to see them fade. I want to nourish them. And I think that's where the discipline, kind of the shift of my way of thinking really, came to the surface and feels prominent in that way of thinking.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wonderful opportunity. And so you don't want to squander that gift.
Yeah.
I feel like it's maybe
and the peace of mind that comes with comfortability.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny when I've been in the singer-songwriter game for a long time, and I've always been I mean, hardworking. I guess I could say that about myself. I have been.
Yes, you are.
Kind of made a career go of my own. But it was also like I've really chafed at the idea of it being a job. And whenever it started to feel like a job, I sort of on purpose, maybe subconsciously, just like not exactly sabotaged it, but just did something else, maybe creative, that didn't feed that thing because it was starting to get to be too much of a job. And if I were to maybe look back on my life and say, you could have made a better choice there.
Sure.
I think that I'm saying this because you're treating, your job kind of like a job in a way.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the right attitude. If you want to be a professional songwriter, you should be professional.
Yes. Funny.
That's a crazy thing. Yeah. Write that down, kids. But yeah, so you're writing, you wrote 50 songs a year, and that's, a couple a week at least. And do you, as candid as you want to be, do you enjoy the co-writing thing? Has it been kind of an acquired taste, or you take right to it?
I think it's like an ebb and flow, much like anything. It's like depending on what's going on in your personal life. But I do know that now I think I referred to myself as a songwriter so generously, and now I'm like, wait a second, you have got a lot to learn, little missy. And I think I always want to be in a headspace where I can be humbled, because isn't that the beauty of just like meeting and knowing that you always have something to learn. And I don't ever want to get to a place where I feel like I am a songwriter. I have it all figured out. I know the rhythm, and I know the format. It's like at the end of the day, I feel like this process is only going to enhance me as a writer. So I'm seeing it from that angle, I feel like.
Yeah, I absolutely can relate to that. A thing that I've often aspired to is to be the least talented person in the room. And I've been very successful at that,
Often
I believe.
the case. For me too.
Because you do learn so much.
Yeah,
and
man.
It's not fun to be the guy that's the best one at a thing. Because you're like, I'm actually like, it's a lot of pressure. Yeah, exactly, for one. And then it's also just like, I want to learn something. I think that when I was younger, I always enjoyed hanging out with older folks.
Me too.
Because it was just implicit that I was going to learn something.
Yeah.
I'm still in that way. I kind of, I love older folks.
Me too.
Yeah.
They have not. I'm with you, and I echo what you said. I feel like I say that all the time. And maybe it's the growing up with a sister who's 7 years older than me. I feel like I tend to flock towards folks of that age, and just a little more wisdom.
A little wisdom comes with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing we came maybe from similar backgrounds. I didn't grow up in Eastern Kentucky, and my parents weren't terribly musical, but church life was a basic part of our life. And I come from a long line of preachers. Okay. But with church life, and this is like, everybody who's grown up in the church will recognize this is true. Music is basic to it. And you learn those old songs, especially in the Protestant churches. As an aside, my wife and I have been going to a Catholic church lately. And those songs are way different, man. I can't really sink my teeth into them yet. We'll see what happens. But I'm, to that point, a lot of faith issues, it's another conversation, and maybe we'll have that.
Sure.
But I noticed that a big part of the draw for me in the faith expression is the music that comes with it, and maybe it's the familiarity. But anyway, this is all to say that growing up in the church and singing a lot, I had two things I think I could point to that my parents gave me. One of them was this idea that like music was a thing that's part of life. It wasn't a thing that you watched on TV. It was a thing that you were allowed, you weren't even, it's not like you were allowed to do it. It was just what you did. My parents sang, and we sang in church. We sang all the time. My dad wrote poems when I was growing up for special occasions, just because it was like, make art in your life. Don't, it's not a thing that's reserved for professionals.
Sure.
And I think that has served me really well in the sense of just like, I've been in the game for a long time. I still have a very basic relationship of joy with music.
Yeah.
And I think that's an extension of the way I was brought up. And the other thing was my father, it was a bit of a disciplinarian household, but one of the things was like, you do not disrespect your elders. You respect older folks for the sheer fact that they are older than you. Yeah. And I think that's a little bit of a old fashioned way of being. And I think that, I'd like to see more of it. I don't think there's a lot of kids out there not respecting their elders.
Well, you're now in a place where you get to implement those things with your own little baby.
Absolutely. And it definitely, I'm noticing how my values not change exactly, but things become more important that weren't, another thing was my parents, I remember having to do simple things like learn Bible verses for, things that I wanted a baseball glove when I was a kid, and I had to learn the 23rd Psalm. And I still to this day could rattle it off for you, and that didn't hurt me at all. You know what I mean? Yeah. It didn't hurt me to learn a little scripture. And I think about my own child. I have a baby at home. She's 4 months old now. It's going by so fast. And
she's gorgeous.
Thank you. I mean, I'm biased, but it's crazy. But yeah, I do think about, the experience that I want her childhood to have, and, what of my own do I want to share, and what maybe do I not want to, what could be improved on according to my own memory. And I think that's a wonderful privilege to be at a place in life where you can kind of reflect a little bit and then have, some say in this. We'll see what happens. I hope I don't mess it up too bad.
Well, I think you got a beautiful partner too, so that helps.
Well, I'm lucky. I definitely married up. That poor girl.
I don't believe that.
Okay, let's talk about First Time Feeling for a second. And I think that record came out, I don't know, you were still in your 20s, maybe at the very end of that,
29.
Or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
But and I think that you said something in your bio about it being sort of a nutshell capture of your 20s. And that record was also, I think that late 20s is in a really rich time because it's a reflective time. You're about to step into this new decade that seems terrifying, and you've grown up. And also you're not a kid anymore. And so can you speak to the tension between innocence and experience that record, I feel like, represents?
I think I'm not one to really give away a lot that I've experienced, but I think growing up at a very young age, I had to step up to the plate and be independent and take care of myself and my twin, and just be mindful of what it means to protect. And I think that's who I am as a person. So I think that follows into suit in terms of just my music. I think I treat it like I'm protecting the songs until they're ready to be out there. I mean, that whole record, the songs that I think about 8 of them, I had been playing for the better part of 9 years, I guess, and was out on the road with Paul Cawthon at the time, and I think we were in Pittsburgh or something of that nature. I feel like he walked up after the fact and said he wanted to make a record, and at that time I was at the turnip truck cooking, making food for East Nashville. So it was like, what is next for me? Being 29 years old, sitting on songs that I'd, been able to tour with over the years, but never really put anything out there that folks would be like, who is this? Because nobody, let's face the facts, it's like nobody knows who I am yet. But I do think at that time, a pivotal moment in time, it was, what do I really want out of life? And do I want to... am I strong enough to take in the criticism? And now I know I am. And all that to be said, it's something that I just don't take. I don't want to just put music out to put it out. It's like it all really. I'm an emotional person and very sensitive, and things that I do are with intention, and what I say is truly from the depth of who I am. So I have to protect how much I want to give away, and I've always been mindful of that from a very early age.
So there's something held in reserve that you're not.
Yeah, I'm not
You're not telling everything in the song. It's not a
Keep my
confused.
cards close.
Yeah. I feel like that is a very wise take for somebody that's in the spotlight and likely going to be a lot more in the spotlight. And that's not to say that's the only way to go. I think there's a lot of really fantastic entertainers and artists that don't do that. I think that from my own experience, I have been a lot more candid, and it wasn't really until I had a partner that I started to keep things private, certain things, because it was my wife now that, so if I'm going to write about a relationship, there's just things I'm not going to say with people. And that was a very new thing for me. And one that I think marks a little maturity, and also marked a shift in my own life that was like, prioritizing relationships. I think that I did not prioritize relationships. And for a lot of different reasons that you're the guest, not me. But,
I think you're making me feel, I think like we're a lot more alike than, walking into this room. It is one of those things. I think that I said this to you earlier. I feel like we are like introspective, I think, people by nature, and that can be a gift and a curse. But I do think it's like people like us. I feel like I'll
be in your club if you'll let me.
We're in the club, man. We're a family at this point. But you know what I mean. It's one of those. It's like whatever it may be. I'm just not willing to share what I don't want to share. And I'm learning that, to your point, it's like I have someone else to protect. And I've been selfish. And I don't mean that when I say I've been selfish. I knew that I wanted to be alone for as long as I was. But when I took vows to protect somebody, I'm gonna adhere to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really rich conversation. I'm going to pursue it a little bit more because I think that one of those things about what makes artists called to make art, there's a need to express oneself. And then what makes artists good is that when they express themselves, their audience sees themselves, that audience member will say, sees him or herself in that expression.
Sure.
And so that requires a certain amount of intimacy. And I think that's a really, it's a knife's edge to ride of revealing yourself and also holding something in reserve. It's something that I'm learning still how to do.
Yeah.
I heard an expression once that I liked a lot. That was, I think, some like songwriting advice 101, which was be near the cliche. And I think that's really good advice because the cliche is like the universal saying, but it's a cliche. It's just terrible to hear that again. And whenever you hear it in a songwriting song, you're just like, oh my God, workshop that.
Entertain the cliche.
Yeah. Entertain the cliche, massage the cliche a bit. But I think that, when you can speak at something like a little bit off to the side, and I feel like you said something off camera that I made a light bulb go off, which was you liked writing in such a way that you were writing more for the listener in a way consciously. And I feel like this is kind of related to that. Maybe you could put some words to that.
I just, I feel like everyone knows this. If you're a songwriter, all the best material comes when you're in a low place, and I'm just so grateful to be in a season of life where I'm not drowning in my own sorrow. I just feel really grateful that I'm over whatever that was, that the persecution that we all have it in us, and I'm very good at picking myself apart. I think we all can attest to that. But I do feel now that life is just bigger. I think you hear it all the time. Don't rush the process. Enjoy life while you're young, this, that, and the other. All these expressions. I have never been more grateful to be at the place that I am in life. And that sounds cheesy and cliche, but it really is something that I am just happy. So how can I hear, even in this conversation, I'm going to take something away from it, and then it'll be a part of a song. And that's where I'm at mentally when it comes to writing songs. I just think I want it to be more about a bigger picture than just my little world in my brain.
Absolutely. And in a certain sense, it requires more creativity to be happy and write compelling material, in the sense that you're making an effort to get inside other people, or you're creating new characters rather than being the star of your own show.
Yeah.
I mean, these words of yours are ringing absolutely true, because I am actually like very happy right now in a weird way. This is a guy that's like made a career out of being pretty depressed and enjoyed it, in some ways. It's like, I know you can relate. Do you know your Enneagram, just as an aside?
I am a 4.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
4 wing 5, I think is what it was. I've done it a few times, but
nice.
Sometimes those tests, you know how it is. I want to sound as good as I can, but I did it. I was like, I want this app to know my shortcomings. Tell me who I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you find it helpful?
I think so.
Yeah.
It helps in moments like this, I think.
Yeah. I found it helpful. My wife cannot stand it. Like because she's such a 7. I'm giving myself away. This is not a religion to me, but I do think the Chinese numbering system is fascinating to me. Like the I Ching? Is that?
I don't know. I'm so very newbie into all of it, but it's more or less like a map to be a better communicator, or learn more about yourself in what that looks like to communicate.
It's been helpful for me to like have a mirror reflected and say like these people that kind of answer this way on a test, whatever, tend to be like this.
Yeah.
And it was helpful for me. And also I think that a lot of times for those personality tests, people use them as crutches and be like, well, I'm this. And so that's why you just have to deal with that. And that's such a wrong attitude. Like the whole, one of the things about that Enneagram book one of the books that I read, the intro, it really did kind of change my life in some small way. And I'll say that, which is that, it was the theory of personality that kind of preceded the test. And it was this like, theory that infants are developing strategies for love. That's you develop a strategy for acquiring love at an early age, and that strategy like becomes a pattern, and that pattern becomes a personality. And so your personality is really just like this pattern that's evolved over many, many, many years. That's your strategy for trying to get what you want, which is love. And when you don't get it, you kind of revert to these other things that are just kind of ancient to your person. And that doesn't have to be all. Like the first step is just being aware of that. And then you can make an attempt to break it. And just that knowledge alone has made such a huge impact on my personal life and my relationships with other people. Because I do revert to personalities, especially when I get nervous or scared or whatever, some bad thing happens that I decide is bad. And then I go into, emergency mode and then make it all worse instead of like, oh, okay, this is that feeling that's happening right now. Like you could do that thing that you feel like doing, or you could make a new choice. And occasionally I make a new choice. I don't know how we got on that. That was my bad.
No, I hear you on that. I think, and I don't want to, if you have, can I extend
No, please.
On that?
Yeah.
I think there was like always, and I'm fearful to overshare, but I just want to kind of
whatever you want to say.
Into that a little bit.
Absolutely.
At an early age, I didn't feel that immediate bond with, someone who is supposed to showcase love for you at a young age. So I think that's why I hear you say that. And it's this unlocking of chambers of your brain where you're just like, wait, that checks out. I think that's why I overly extend my love to everyone. I think that's my superpower. I used to shy away from how deeply I try to see other people. I think that I learned how to be a nurturer at a very early age, and I think again that's something that I heard you say how we seek love, and that rang true. And
now that you said that, I'll say this, which is that I have kind of this new theory that after having been happy and in a really, like, knock on wood, wonderful relationship that's meaningful and is, for the first time in my life, more important than my career, which is weird. Like, some people would be like, wow, dude, it took you that long to figure that out. Well, it did.
And
but
that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah. I mean, and also I was just like, I really have enjoyed my life and what I've done. And I've enjoyed the free time that came within the discovery. And I enjoy my own company. There's a lot of reasons why. Fine. But now I'm in this other thing, and I'm just like, okay, what's motivating the art then? Do I still need to create? And I found, to my surprise and relief, that yes, I do. But it's been interesting to look back on, why did I do this in the first place? Like, what was going on? And, I don't know if other people are this way, but I definitely think that my roots as an artist are like, it's rooted in damage. It's rooted in a really serious inadequacy in childhood and this like ability that I needed love. Yeah. And I got love, and I had a little talent, with music. And I had a few really critical experiences when I was very young that made me go like, oh, pretty girl likes me. Yeah. Like, that doesn't talk to me, but I sing it. And it's so simple and innocent in a way. And yet it absolutely steered my life. And, like when I was in high school, I had a stronger version of that experience. I had this, I'll just tell you the story. Please. I had this band in high school, Clockwork Orange. It was awesome. We played Clockwork Orange, yeah, after the movie. Wow. Okay, so not original. Okay, we get... But and also, it was just pretty much a cover band, like a new wave. We call it new wave now, but like a Depeche Mode and Cure songs, and that's what we played. Man, that's what we liked. And like Trent Reznor just gotten started, so we played some Nine Inch Nails. We were pretty edgy. But I think I learned so much from that band, and it was like, still the innocent part of that was just like my friends and I like practicing in our basement and like serious about it. When we go on, we played shows and we made money, and we reinvested the money in better PA gear, and like it was a thing. And it absolutely taught me how to do music, you know, and how to be in a band, how to just like keep it working. And I also like loved that. But, we had this, I was a junior in high school. We had this rewards dance for good behavior or something during school. And it was called the Battle of the Bands, because each class, the sophomore class and the junior class and the senior class, they just had kind of one band that sort of had formed and they like, okay, well, you'll represent your class. And the sophomore class played, fine, who cares? And then it was our turn. And I don't know what it was, but the place went bananas. It was just insane.
You felt it right away.
Felt it,
and you've been searching for that.
I've told the story before. I don't know if it was on this podcast, but I just remembered like there was these two daughters on this. There's two twins at the that were in my high school. The Rice twins, Margaret and I can't remember the other one that started with an M too. It was a long time ago. They were just like, hot girls or whatever. And like they rushed the stage and they like never talked to me in school and like sandwiched me. And they were just like, they'd lost their minds. And I was like, oh my God, like my life will never be the same again. And it really wasn't. Like I enjoyed school and stuff too, but I was not going to be a lawyer or a scientist or a doctor or anything respectable. I was like, I was going to go do this, the whole thing. And I mean, I really did. And it's been like quite an adventure and stuff. But I think at the root of that, I would never have done that if I just had what I kind of wanted as a little kid. And so I think about that with my daughter. My wife is like, she's going to be a great artist. I'm like, she's not going to be an artist.
She's going to be
too happy.
Loved.
She's going to be too loved. She won't need to do this.
Oh man.
My God.
That last thing you said, it's like, you said it perfectly. It really is. It's like, I wouldn't change a thing about my entire life. I feel like, of course, there are moments where you have like, where you're like, crap, why did I say that or do that? I hope I didn't offend somebody. Those are the moments where I'm like, okay, what did I say or do? But it's still one of those things. It's like, I am grateful for all the pain, because what else? I mean, that's just what this existence really offers. It's like we're not supposed to be happy all the time, and I just feel every day I wake up and I just feel grateful that I'm still alive. And I don't know if that's just being in my 30s and now it feels a little more real that it's not going to be this thing that lasts forever. But I think what I heard you say and what I feel from to add and feel from that is I think it's just knowing like that we all have an ego and everyone has something to offer. So why would we ever want to allow our ego to diminish someone's happiness or take away from their vulnerability? So I think that's where I've always struggled with the idea of being some country artist or some indie artist or this. I'm none of that. And I'm grateful for the spotlight at times in terms of I'm showing my soul to people and it's being received. But I do think it's like at the end of the day, going back to that core memory of playing your high school talent show and feeling that initial feeling of like, oh, this is my purpose. This brings me actual joy while you're making me sit in a room for 8 hours in a day. Now I know what I want to search my body and mind for and really put my efforts into.
Maybe on that note, you could share a song here in the studio.
I would love to.
I think your friend Laura is here to join you.
She is.
Maybe you want to set this one up?
Let's do it. I just released the single. It's called 100 Different Sides, and this is for everybody. I hope you enjoy it.
Tired of hearing what I'm supposed to be. Rotted fruit from the family tree. Confident, but I aim to please. There's only one of me, but I've got 100 different sides, headed in the same direction. Why am I stuck on the same old questions? Am I strong? Am I tough? Am I gonna ever measure up? 'Cause I've got 100 different sides. Get in line and stand up straight. Go and wipe that makeup off your face. I know my heart is in the right place. Why do I feel so alone with my 100 different sides, headed in the same direction? Why am I stuck on the same old questions? Am I strong? Am I tough? Am I gonna ever measure up? 'Cause I've got 100 different sides. I see my reflection, but it gets lost on the
That was fantastic. Thank you.
you.
I'm so glad that I had the front row seat to see that.
Laura is the best. I'm grateful to have her with me.
You all were really, it was music in a room, which is my favorite kind of music. It's great. Records are great. I love records, and it's like putting a ship together in a bottle.
Sure.
But man, there's just something about like two souls just letting a song rise up. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for having us.
I have a question. I'm going to piggyback on an earlier topic, which was your sort of, this is kind of, I feel like this is the theme of this conversation in some ways. It's just like what you choose to reveal, what you hold in reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And a question that I have for you this is related is there a lyric that you almost didn't share because it was too vulnerable in a song, but then chose to? And if so, what happened? Did you learn something?
You know, I think I don't think there's ever been a time that I've held back on what I want to say. I think I just have learned to say it in a way where it's not so direct. But I will kind of dabble in that thought. I think I want to get my point across to whoever I'm writing the song about. So I think they'll know with underlying messages. But no, I'm never going to hold back on what I really want to say. Mm-hmm. I never have, I don't think.
Fair enough. Nor I. That's probably why you're where you're at.
Maybe so. You too.
You mentioned that there was never a doubt in your mind that music was not going to be what you did.
Yeah.
At the same time, your 20s are ebbing and you're at the turnip truck. Did you reconsider? Were you like, oh, maybe I will go do something else? Or were there, I don't know if you call them doubts even, but just maybe a calling or a pull in a new direction? And how did that shake out? I mean, I guess we're on the other side of it, so I know, but was there an event that happened or somebody swoop in?
You know, I think I have a brilliant bond with my papa, and at that same time in life, I moved back to Kentucky for about 2 months just to see what I needed to do. And yeah, I didn't think, man, I'm going to give music up forever, but I did think like maybe I could do something else. And I was inspired by cooking. It was like something that really, I didn't know how to cook at all and learned so much. So I enrolled in, to answer your question, I enrolled in culinary school for 2 weeks, and no, sir, that was not the move. But that was the only time, and I hear people say like, you can never have a plan B. It's like, I think that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. I always have a plan B. In any moment, all day, I know my exit plan. I know how to get from, I'm always going to be okay. I'll always figure it out. And if my voice leaves me tomorrow, God forbid, I'll be okay and I'll figure something out. But I do think this is just my calling. Mm-hmm. As cliche or corny as that sounds.
So when you had that, I'll call it a crisis just to be poetic.
Yeah.
And then you went to culinary school. 2 weeks in, you were like, okay, I'm not going to do this. And then, there wasn't exactly something waiting for you in Nashville. Mm-hmm. So you were like, I'm going to go back anyway and see what happens.
It was, so earlier you mentioned Lacey. Lacey's my twin. I moved to town in 2011, and she didn't get here till 2016. So that was always something that I struggled with, being away from my sister. And much like most twins, we're like magnets, and we live to be together, essentially. So that was like a point in time, and I was only a background vocalist. Not only a background vocalist, but I wasn't sitting down and really evaluating what I wanted to do. So I think there's been many a times where I've been like, what is this? Why am I giving my entire life? I thought I'd have 5 kids by now. I thought I'd be way more, have much more stability. I saw a bunch of different paths, and I think that's just a part of life. I do now feel as though I feel like I'm rambling and I don't remember what the initial question is, but I do think at the end of the day, if you're not having confliction, especially having a partner, in my world of things, my husband does the same thing. So a lot of the times you can find that there's this, someone's doing better than the other, if you will, and they're gaining more notoriety. It's there's just a lot more moving pieces. And again, we touched base on this earlier. It's like just realizing that it's not only about me. And once that mindset was something that I really attached and started to really exude in terms of like who I am and learning to become that, that's when the rest just felt like, this is just fun. This is just what I get to do. Hallelujah. Like we said it earlier, what are we doing right now? We just get to hang out and talk about how hard we've worked and look what we get to do.
Connect. Again. Absolutely. I had a fundamental shift in a career goal mindset in my late 30s, which was before that all I wanted to do was like play Saturday Night Live or equivalent,
sure,
and have a tour bus and be on the road all the time and play big rooms, and I was always like kind of working toward that. So I would spend a lot of time on the road in my 30s. Playing small rooms, which was fine because I was getting to do my version of the dream. Great. And I'd look to the big bands and be like, man, they're like meeting in the tour bus meets in the Walmart parking lot at 4 a.m. They're pulling, that sounds so romantic. That's cool. And then I realized around 40 or so that these guys, they did not really relish that lifestyle anymore. But that's what they had. That was the bed they'd made. That was the shrine they built. That was the mechanism that was carrying them forward financially, and it was their job.
Yep.
And I thought, that's interesting. Like my goals are now different, and my goal changed into, I would like each of my days, as to the extent that I'm able, to be as close to as possible to the ideal day that I would like to have. And I just want to put my energy in toward making an ideal day, like a series of ideal days. And I realized like, that's mostly not traveling, after having done it for a very long time and really enjoyed parts of it. Now it's more just like, I like to be at home. I like to do creative things and be with people, build relationships that I want to have, and just have opportunities to make art at whatever scale, and that was really helpful for me. It like kind of eliminated what pangs of jealousy there might have been or something like that. The grass is always greener. I don't really have that feeling. The grass is pretty green in here right now.
I know. I think that's really, in a nutshell, what I was trying to say. It's like you want something until you finally get. It's like you see the quotes all the time and the good like self-affirmations and things, and it's like 5 years ago, opening up the turnip truck at 3:45 in the morning, and I'm sitting here with you today. I'm in good shape.
Yeah, you're doing just fine.
I'm doing way better than I thought I would be.
This is so fun, and I want to let you go, but not before we talk a little bit about what you alluded to earlier, which is being in a relationship, a creative working partnership, because I am in my version of that. And if you could be, to whatever extent you want to be candid, what do you love about it, and what is just something that's part of the deal that comes with the territory?
I can genuinely say I love watching his hard work pay off and watching him succeed, because that just means our bills are being paid at the end of the day. I think a lot of the times, there can be the parts where it's like you're not in a relationship where somebody makes you feel secure and loved and seen. And the beauty of being with Paul, we were really good friends for almost 9 years before things changed. And so that's not always the case for everybody, but I definitely think that's the beautiful part of our story. We got to watch each other grow up, and him more so than me in a lot of ways. But the beauty behind all of it is just knowing that last night I watched him play the Opry, and that's his 4th time doing so. And each night I've watched him do so, he's been more relaxed. And it's just, when you love somebody, you only want them to be happy. So that's what I'm witnessing.
And it sounds like too, you guys think of your relationship as an us, regardless of who's in the spotlight at any given moment.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like that is very noble and necessary and perfect. And I recognize it too in my own relationship. And I also notice that we have to visit that regularly to make sure that we're both still on the same page and nobody's getting too, mostly me, no one's getting too self-absorbed, let's say. Because it's hard not to be consumed. You know, I mean, there's so many things every day and you're just like, but as long as you kind of touch base and you're like, hey, are we, like, for me, I said this earlier, it wasn't until this relationship that I realized that if it were asked of me, and not that Randa ever would, but that I don't not do this, or if it was made clear to me that I could no longer maintain this relationship and this career in this way, I would absolutely leave the career.
Sure.
Same. And like if that's the attitude, you're good.
Yeah.
Like whatever the details come up.
That's how it's supposed to be.
It's how it's supposed to be.
When you really want something to work, everything that is the self-absorbed aspect of things that we innately have in us, if you want something to be long-lasting, you have to, surrender yourself to the other person. And that's the only way. And that's not easy by any means. It's something that you have to, it's a practice.
It's practice.
Yeah.
That was a really wonderful and inspiring answer, Leah. Thank you. And to make an easy one, we'll just talk about career for a second, one more time, which is that I think that you were in the studio just maybe a month ago or two, and maybe you still are.
Still are.
What's coming up that people can look forward to?
I'm so grateful to finally share that I just signed my first record deal, and that can come across a certain way to a lot of people, but it took us about a year to really get to a place that we were all comfortable, and I just feel very fortunate that I get to work with Dan and his camp of people. So,
congratulations, and Dan
Auerbach.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow!
That
right.
Dan, fantastic.
That Dan, yeah.
Are you on Easy Sound? Is that the deal?
Easy Eye. Yeah.
Easy Eye. I'm sorry, that was dumb.
That's okay.
Wow.
Wow.
And amazing,
right.
and also like perfect fit. Actually,
it really feels serendipitous.
Yeah.
I'll say that much. It was, I think now, we mentioned this earlier, being in the room with people that are obviously much more qualified, but it's definitely a level up for me, and I don't take it lightly. I'll say that much.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank
Have
you.
you seen the Black Keys doc that came out last year?
No.
You should watch it sometime.
I mean, really
just
haven't. I will.
Yeah. It's just a really great rock and roll story.
Yeah.
And really well done. And gets at kind of what the essence of Auerbach and Patrick, they're sort of mismatched, perfect odd couple, friendship, music fraught relationship, and how that just like made the music what it was.
Yeah.
It's just, it comes back to that thing that just music is such a really delicate reining in of chaos, essentially. I think the best music is chaotic. It's like a controlled chaos. And
Sure.
I feel like we're all entering, there's something about people that play music or want to make art, is a willing step into the chaos, and like a hope and a prayer that you're able to like kind of mold it into something that you can take back with you.
Sure.
But I'm so excited for you.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, in general, just in your life and where you're at, it's such a positive moment, and that's a wonderful thing. And you're also so young. And I just thought, you mentioned like starting a family at some point. And I feel like maybe as long as I'm in Nashville and you're in Nashville, I might get to watch that and maybe participate in it somewhat.
Yes. Maybe I feel like I'm already jumping the gun, but I feel like we're going to make some girls. So maybe we'll have a little play date in the future at some point. I'm going to go ahead and say that out loud and see what happens.
I'll look forward to that. Zuzu, you're the big sister now. You hear that?
Yeah. Zuzu.
Leah Blevins, you are a really classy person and a very talented artist. And thank you so much for sharing some time with me.
Thank you so much.
Let's do it again sometime.
I would love to. Cool. Appreciate you.
The Morse Code Podcast is produced by Korby Lenker and Jared Hammond in East Nashville, Tennessee. Our executive producer is Randa Newman. You can find full videos for this and all previous episodes at morsecodepodcast.com.